Hel and Baldur, the queen of the underworld and the god of light. Their stories go hand in hand, and some even think they might be what we today consider to be the devil and God. One is a daughter of Loki, the other is a son of Odin. Both are dead, yet both survive Ragnarök. And that's kind of deep. I'm not gonna lie, I feel like the Riddler a little bit. Both are dead, yet both survive Ragnarök. You know, people think they're deep too when they start using the word yet like that. Yet both survive. They are two sides of a coin. Hel was hated from the moment she was born, banished to die as an innocent child. And Baldur was so loved that his people did everything they could to grant him immortality. I feel like I just set the stage for an epic. Let's do this. Our story starts with Hel, who was born to Loki and his side chick, the giantess Angrboda, which literally translates to the one who brings grief. And if you look at the children she bore him, you kind of understand why. A giant wolf, a giant snake, and a girl that is half a corpse. The girl was Hel, and her brothers lived in secret with their mother in the harsh cold of Jotunheim, while Loki lived the good life with his wife and their two sons in golden shiny Asgard. Then, one day, Odin, the All-Father, had visions of the end of the world, and in those visions, he saw that the end of the world would involve a giant wolf, a giant snake, and a girl that is half a corpse. And Loki was like, shit. Odin forced the location of the kids out of Loki and solved the problem by chaining up the wolf, exiling the snake, and banishing the little girl to certain death. He threw her into Hel. So there she was, the little girl in the land of the dead. And I know this sounds like the beginning of an epic adventure, but from here on out, everything is lost. We have no sources on how her tale continues, but we do know how it ends. Hint, hint, the underworld in Norse mythology is literally called Helheim. The girl's name is Hel, and Heim means home. This girl rose through the ranks like a pimp on steroids and made Hel her bitch. Excusez mon français, but there is just no other way to say this. When you name the dreaded underworld after yourself and make it your home, you're a pimp on steroids, and that place is your bitch now. So after dominating the underworld gang wars, Dawn Hel settled into the throne of Helheim, and now a grown woman, she ruled over the dead like a boss. And let's see what Baldur was up to while all this was going on. Baldur was born to Odin and his wife Frigg, and he had two brothers, Hermod, the messenger of the gods, and Hödr, the blind god. Also, Thor and Heimdall were two of his half-brothers. Baldur's life was literally the exact opposite of Hel's, not only because he grew up with his family, but because Baldur's life was all about light. While Hel was cast into darkness, Baldur was the god of light. Hel had to dominate an underworld gang war and become a mob boss to survive, and Baldur was simply loved by everyone due to the virtue of him being him. He was the god of beauty, nobility, peace, and happiness. He was the representation of what it means to be loved, and thus all loved him. It was impossible to hate the guy, and I'm not saying that as a figure of speech. This is mythology. Things like that are literal here. It was impossible to hate Baldur since he personified the light and warmth you would describe love with, and yet somehow this lovable god ended up getting killed. How? Loki. Of course it's Loki. There's a rule that any rule that ever existed does not apply to Loki. Loki hated Baldur, and it didn't help that Odin locked away Loki's children while Odin's kids were living their best life on Asgard. So it was music to Loki's ears that there was this prophecy going around that Baldur was fated to die and spend his life in the underworld. And this is where we revisit Hel. Odin was obviously aware of this prophecy, and he wasn't about to let his beloved son die. So he put on his famous Gandalf the Grey Wanderer outfit, got on his 8-legged horse, Sleipnir, and rode into the underworld. And that's not just a quick countryside stroll. Getting to the underworld took him 9 nights, and to get there, Odin had to cross through the freezing cold, dark ice realm, Niflheim, until he reached the river Gjöll, a river that didn't have water flowing through it, but daggers instead, and this river separated Helheim from the other realms, and the only way to cross it was a golden bridge that was hanging by only a single hair and was guarded by the female skeleton Modgud. What is this? Dark Souls Valhalla edition? Come on, From Software. I know you wrote this. Come on. Luckily, Odin was on his New Game Plus, so he got past all those obstacles and made it into the halls of Hel all the way to its queen, the eponymous Hel, who I like to think around these parts was simply known as the Dawn. Usually Hel's halls weren't exactly inviting because they had another river running through them that had swords instead of water this time, but today the place looked kind of nice. There were tables out, all set with drinks and food, and there was gold everywhere. It kind of looked like a reception. So when Odin saw Hel decorating the place, he was like, "Ah, Hel, come on, I know it's been a while, but you really shouldn't have. Shut up, fake Gandalf, this is not for you. What do you want?" Odin told Hel about this prophecy that his son Baldur was bound to die, and if there was anything she could do about, yeah, your boy gonna die. Who do you think I'm doing all this for? Odin was shocked, but Hel was happy, because Baldur would finally bring his light and happiness to the underworld. Because, you see, the underworld wasn't actually an evil, dark place. All the great warriors go to Odin's Valhalla and Freya's Folkvanger, yeah, but everybody else, the non-fighters, those who die of old age or illness or TikTok challenges, they all end up here. Basically, most of the dead end up right here in Helheim, and Hel was their caretaker, so she cared for the place to be nice, to make sure everybody has a relaxing afterlife. Sure, the evil ones had their own place in Hel called Naustrund, which casually translates to corpse shore, and was a place where they were devoured by the dragon Nidhogg. But everybody else, chillin', living their second life of eternal rest and peace. Granted, Hel could use some maintenance, and maybe they could get rid of the deadly sword rivers and have a friendlier receptionist than the skeleton, who I do appreciate is female, because it was so hard to find work for female skeletons back in those days, but it doesn't exactly help the image of Hel when a skeleton is the first face you see. You know what I mean? So, to make a long side note explanation of why Hel was happy to receive Baldur even longer, Baldur's light and warmth was missing in the underworld, and Hel was delighted that Baldur was finally about to die and couldn't wait to receive him. In other words, she confirmed Odin's worries and said there's nothing she can do, and then sent fake Gandalf packing back past the River of Daggers, back on his 9 nights journey back to Asgard. Odin returned to his wife Frigg with no solution for how to avoid their son's fate. So Frigg came up with an idea. Let's just get an oath from every single existing entity to never harm Baldur. And Odin was like, every single... Yeah, bro, that's gonna take ages. But Frigg reminded Odin that he owed her for cheating and having a baby with Freya, and those 9 Jötun women that gave birth to Heimdall, and the giant lady that gave birth to Thor. So, asking every single existing entity it was. From gods to animals, to rocks, to rivers, everything swore an oath not to harm Baldur. Everything except for one little plant that lives hidden inside bigger plants, the mistletoe. The mistletoe literally survives by harming other plants, so it was scared to give an oath to not harm anything, and it hid from Odin and Frigg, and when they realized they forgot to ask the mistletoe, they figured, what's a little mistletoe gonna do? Come on. And they were happy with Baldur's blessing. Everything had sworn the oath, so nothing could harm him. Baldur was. But then there was Loki, who still wanted to pay Odin back for what he did, and hated Baldur even more now. God of light, everybody loves him, and they go out of the way to make him invincible. What the hell? Get it? Double meaning, what the hell? Because what about Hel? My daughter, what the hell? I gotta stop explaining my jokes. Loki was fed up, so he transformed into an old lady and in disguise casually asked Frigg So, got an oath from everything then, huh? That must have taken forever. Ah, yeah, man, took a while. Are you sure you didn't forget anything? Because, you know, me and oaths were like tight, right? I can get some last oaths if you forgot anything. That's a tough word. Oaths. Say that 5 times real quick in a row. You know what I mean? But just in case you forgot anything, I can get them. I don't know. Maybe you forgot an oath. You forget something? Nah, man, we good. We just forgot the mistletoe. But okay, thank you, bye. So Loki made an arrow out of mistletoe and then tricked Baldur's blind brother Hodr into shooting the laurel arrow at Baldur, and Baldur was dead. Yeah, I know, all this build-up, and then I just dump Baldur's death on you. That's not a satisfying climax. But you know what, brothers? Now you know how girls feel. Woo! And that's how you build a joke. Built that up. I was leading them on like Baldur's death. The climax is Baldur's death. But that's like orgasm. Women's orgasm. You know what I mean? For the ladies. You know, they're going to love this stuff. I really need to stop explaining my jokes. Well, anyway, Baldur was dead, and off to the underworld he went. Hel received Baldur in the underworld, and again, this was not punishment or gloom and doom. Everybody that didn't die in battle came here, so Baldur was one of many, just more special because he was a god and he did bring his warmth and light, and everybody loved Baldur down here too. He made Hel's eternal Heim feel complete. So Don Hel wasn't exactly happy when another unwanted visitor came knocking. Hermod, Baldur's brother. Hermod begged Hel to return his brother, since the world is not the same without him, and at least the underworld is not used to Baldur's presence yet, but the world of the living is suffering without the god of light. Usually Hel would never return anyone to life, but since she, like everybody else, had grown to love Baldur, she could understand exactly how much they loved and needed him in the world of the living. So she struck a deal with Hermod. If Hermod can get every existing entity to shed a tear and say they miss Baldur, to prove that the world of the living truly can't go on without him, then the beloved god may come back to life. So Hermod was like every single entity? Bro, that's gonna take ages. Bruh, do you want your brother back or not? And with this, Hermod rode off, back across the river of daggers, back through the cold realms, back for 9 nights, all the way to Asgard. Once in Asgard, Hermod told everybody the good news and asked if anybody was down to help him ride around the realms to every single existing entity to collect testimonials. But they were like, nah, bro, I'm good. You got this. Hermod rode around the cosmos and got all the teary-eyed testimonials saying how much they miss Baldur and want him back. And he was finally down to the last one, the giantess Thirk. Hermod asked her if she misses Baldur, already knowing the answer, but she said, nah, fam, don't miss him. No, not at all. Hermod couldn't believe it, but the giant doubled down. Nah, man, Baldur's the worst, bro. One time, he borrowed my DVD, Asgard 4, Backdoor Thor. Dude borrowed it for so long, I had to borrow it back. The giantess said she simply does not miss Baldur, and Hermod was shocked. They made a sequel to Asgard 3, Thor's Hammer Strikes Back? Word. There was nothing Hermod could do to convince the giantess, and as he rode off in disbelief, he heard the giantess chuckle from a distance, and Hermod immediately recognized that devilish chuckle. Loki. Now you have to remember Baldur's anticlimactic death from earlier, right? Loki had tricked Baldur's blind brother Hodr into shooting that deadly arrow. So while that was weird, because no one understood why Hodr would randomly just do that, no one really suspected Loki until now. Everything dawned on Hermod once he saw that Loki had transformed into the giantess. He put it all together and knew Loki's guilt on the spot. So Hermod turned around to confront Loki, but Loki then quickly shapeshifted from the giantess into a salmon and disappeared into a nearby river. So of course, Hermod got back up and was now on a mission to catch Loki. Thor and other gods joined in on this mission to catch Loki in his fish form, and to be honest, this is one of the weirder tales in Norse mythology because you have these powerful gods making fish nets trying to catch Loki in the river. It really feels like a bad filler episode. But ultimately, Thor caught Loki with his bare hands and squeezed so hard to hold on to the slippery salmon Loki that he squished the salmon, and that's why salmons are now flat towards their fin. So the gods took Loki prisoner, and they didn't just punish him, but also his family on Asgard. One of Loki's sons was transformed into a wild wolf and made to kill the other son, and then they used the intestines of the dead son to tie Loki up in a dark cave. Bruh. So there Loki was, painfully tortured on top of that with poison dripping on his forehead, and his loyal wife Sigyn tried her best to shield him from the poison as much as possible by collecting its deadly drips in a bowl, thus staying by his side during this lifelong sentence. So now, Loki's two Aesir sons were dead, Loki was forever tied to a rock in a cave, his son Fenrir was tied to another rock in another cave, while his other son Jörmungandr was exiled to the oceans. Meanwhile, in the underworld, Dawn Hel was still the kingpin, still had Baldur in her realm, since not everything had wept for him to come back to life, and Hel commanded all the dead, which meant she basically was ruling over the biggest of all the realms. And while Valhalla and Folkvangr were filled with hundreds of thousands of warriors endlessly battling, Helheim was filled with millions of souls, all loyal to Hel, who took care of them in the afterlife, which ultimately was the eternal life, and thus Hel ruled over them way longer than Odin ever did. Hel was powerful, and Odin exiled her as a kid and now just screwed over her entire family. Needless to say, she was not on good terms with Odin, and one day Hel would use her power to assemble the biggest army Asgard and the gods would ever face, the army of the dead, which would be led by her father Loki in an attack against their common enemy in Asgard, Odin. But you know that Ragnarök video is a video for another day. In fact, it's a video I will release in 3 days. This Saturday. Time for the extra notes. I didn't forget what I teased in the beginning about them being the devil and God. It all starts with how Hel and Baldur are connected post Ragnarök, because we know Baldur survives, and it's implied that Hel survives also. Now, side note here, there is a popular fiction or theory going around that Loki survives Ragnarök and creates all Abrahamic religions to control humanity and cause chaos by having them fight each other. This basically places Loki as God, the god. There's a lot of reasons why this doesn't make sense, but one is that we know Loki dies at the hands of Heimdall during Ragnarök. What's interesting though is the idea behind this, and it allows us to spin another fiction. Baldur is the god of light, Hel is Hel. Both survive Ragnarök and are part of the new cycle of life. You could spin a nice fiction here where Baldur takes the role of God and Hel takes the role of the devil in our current world. This fiction would actually be a seamless transition from where Norse mythology ends. It's just a random thought I had and my comment on this whole wild Loki is God theory. So comment on this and tell me what you think about it in the comment section below. Just having fun with it. I didn't mention Gamr in this video, Hel's big guard dog, the Norse equivalent of Cerberus. So just know that Norse mythology has Gamr, who is another extra guard for the underworld. And there's a very cool extra fact here, that's why I'm doing this extra note. Those who have given bread to the needy in life will suddenly find themselves with snacks for Gamr when confronted by him in the afterlife. I like that fact so much because it's really cute, so I wanted to add it. There's reason to believe that Hermod is not actually Baldur's brother. He's sometimes referred to as Odin's boy in the ancient texts, which could simply mean that he is one of Odin's servants. Like a lot of things in Norse mythology, this is very unclear, but either way, it doesn't change Hermod's journey and his love for the Asgard movies. That was my favorite joke. Helheim and Hel are not really evil. It's just the afterlife with all its aspects, where all are judged fairly based on their actions in life. The whole evil place of punishment thing is basically just modern, a largely Christian recasting of the tales where everything had to be black and white. Norse mythology, though, is not the only mythology where the underworld and its rulers are not evil. Greek mythology is like that too. It's just our modern thinking is kind of indoctrinated, so we automatically think evil when we think of any underworld. And guys, this part is always so cringe, so as always, let's zoom in on him. Let's see if we can get the focus on him from the camera, yeah? This time, no cuts, freestyle, all real, all authentic. It's true, I gotta project, the mic is there. It's true that subscriptions help this channel a lot. But if you enjoyed this video, then please consider subscribing. This boy here has very expensive taste. And just, yeah, if you like this video, consider subscribing. Leave a like, ring that notification bell. 2 uploads twice a week, subscribe, leave a comment. Let's discuss some of these things I say in the comment section, feedback me. And yes, this Saturday I will finally, actually let me move back, I will finally drop my Ragnarök video. So the Greek gods will take a break this week, and I'll see you back here on Saturday for Ragnarök. Alright? Alright. That's a good one. I like it. I like it.